Okay, so I've actually been thinking about this a little bit, and I feel like the issue about Feyre not having any friends, because Feyre does not have any friends, it's so much more fundamental than certain events. It goes back all the way to the moment that Morgan lays eyes on Feyre. So, what we don't know and what Feyre doesn't know, but Morgan does, is that Feyre is Rhysand's mate. We know this because Rhysand explains it in chapter 54. He's basically like, this, blah, 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 this is why I'm not a douchebag speech. But during his, chapter long dissertation, he explains that when he makes it home, Morgan is the first person to see him. And the first thing he says to her is, she's my mate. And he explains the situation to her. So when Morgan meets Feyre, she is not meeting Feyre on her own terms. Feyre is Rhys's mate at that point. She might not know that Feyre is going to become High Lady and like going to be like her superior in that way, but like she knows that no matter what, Feyre is inexplicably tied to Rhysand. She has to be nice to her. It's like the difference between like meeting your friend at like a bar or something and then meeting your friend because like your brother is dating her. Like you're going to treat her a little differently at first. And then it comes out that Cassian and Azriel, they didn't know exactly, Rhysand didn't tell them, but they did suspect. And that would color every interaction that they had with Feyre. Because Feyre's not, some girl who works for Rhysand at that point. She's Rhysand's mate. She's going to have power over them. Like, it'll color every interaction with them that they ever have. And I've actually been doing a little bit of a deep dive into the chapter 54 to 56 of ACOMAF just because of where I am writing my Nerys fanfic. And I feel like chapter 56 does not get enough smoke. Like, we talk about chapter 54 and chapter 55 all the time, but chapter 56 feels shitty to me now. So after Rhysand and Cassian, they have their little cat fight, and Rhysand, nails Feyre on the table, whatever. They go back to Valaris because Rhysand needed to be in like a better headspace in order for Feyre to like be around people, because then he would get jealous, all that shit. And Rhysand's even saying like, I might end up being a little nutty and like, I apologize in advance. And he's like being territorial when Feyre smiles at Azriel. Like it's shitty. But to the main point, so like what I'm talking about here. When Feyre comes in, the Court of Dreamers, like Amren, Morgan, Cassian, Azriel, they all stand up and they look at her and they bow. So it's immediate, like, you are superior now. And then it's like, we will serve and protect. And then Feyre is like, hey, thanks, but I'd rather you guys were my friends. Like, you don't need to do all this shit. And Feyre is like, yeah, sure, but we will serve and protect. And when somebody says something and then they say but afterwards, they're about to undercut themselves. And then Rhys pisses me off here because I feel like the Court of Dreamers were trying to give Feyre a certain level of respect as Rhysand's mate and therefore someone who could give them orders. And Rhysand's like, well, now that you guys are all done with that, I'm hungry. Like, dude, they were trying to show her some respect and you just like dismissed that. Like, the fuck is wrong with you, Rhysand? But no, Feyre doesn't have any friends. Like, I feel like the power structure is just not conducive to Feyre being unabashed friends with these people. And I also feel like that's true of Rhysand. Like, Rhysand is not friends with these people. This Tumblr post was like a mallet to the head. Like, if Rhysand telling Tamlin to kill himself wasn't as bad as the shit that he says to Cassian on the regular, what the hell does he say to Cassian? And why does Cassian take it? And if you know me, you know how much smoke I have for this man on a daily basis. For something to make me feel active empathy for Canon Cassian, it's got to be like a major, major, major thing. And honestly, just fuck Rhysand. Rhysand's the fucking worst. And this is honestly why it's so refreshing that Nesta has the Valkyries. And when you reread ACOSF, you can kind of see how Nesta and Emery and Gwyn are built on a relationship of equals. Like, they all went through the same thing together. Like, they were not engaging with Nesta as like, Lady Death or whatever. They were engaging with Nesta as Nesta, and it shows in their friendship versus Feyre's friendships with the Night Court. Which is why it's honestly so sad that Nesta's friendships with and her relationships with essentially everybody are based on her inferiority complex and how much she hates herself. And in order for the Night Court to consider her reformed, she had to essentially apologize for having very human reactions. And this is why when Elain's book comes out, the Elriel book, the glorious Elriel book, when it comes out, I need Elain to be making friends on her own merits that are equals to her and that are not going to make her enforce her own insecurities about herself in order to be considered worthy of those friendships. Like, I want nothing but the world for my girl. And I want nothing but the world for Elain Archeron because her sisters didn't get that. Nesta didn't get it because the entire book of ACOMAF is framed on she sucks. And in order for her to become a better person in the eyes of the Night Court, she has to just constantly talk about like how much she sucks. And that's not fair to her. And then Feyre, all of her friendships are basically built on the fact that she's Rhysand's mate, and no one has ever engaged with Feyre for Feyre in the Night Court. And that sucks. Free Elain 2025.